Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. And today I welcome Ebonie to the show. And I'm looking forward to talking to Ebonie about her new book that's come out. So we're going to dive into that today. So Ebonie is looking to spread lupus awareness and also explain how important mental health is to any and all illnesses as well. So, Ebonie, welcome to the show today. Glad to have you on.
Thank you.
Of
Happy to
course,
be here.
I'm happy you're here as well. So, be great to hear a little bit about what was the inspiration behind writing the book.
Well, I was diagnosed with lupus in 1999,
Hmm.
and at the time I had no idea, never heard of it, and didn't know anything about it. And then when I looked up the information, it scared me, like absolutely scared. And I don't want fellow warriors to get that feeling. There is hope out there. There is actions you can take. And what makes lupus so difficult is no two people have it the same. So you are your biggest advocate in this, and I just want to make sure to promote that.
Mm, got it. I love that. And yeah, for anyone who's not aware of what lupus is, could you kind of give a summary of what it is?
Lupus is an autoimmune disease. There's actually three factors that I've known, different kinds. One is the easier one. It's caused by medication. Will give you lupus-like symptoms, and the reason why it's the easiest is you're not completely cured from it, but if you stop whatever medications is causing that, then the symptoms will stop. The second one is more for the skin, discoid lupus, and it gives off the skin diseases, the scars, and give you like the more visible signs of it. And the other one is SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus. That's actually the worst one. That's the one I have. I
Mm,
also have the one that causes skin. I have makeup on now, but I left a few visible scars just to show that I'm fighting both. And what that is it's basically your body fighting itself. It's an autoimmune disease that the average person, you get your cold, your immune system turns on, and then
mm,
it turns back off once the cold is healed. If you have lupus, it can turn on and then it'll fight something healthy. It'll fight the cold. It just depends on what your body feels like doing. And sometimes it'll just turn on by itself, or at least in my case.
mm,
And in my book, I talk about how lupus has opened the door for me to have other rare diseases. And I speak on that. I also want to see if I can get my book, my Lupus Journey Journal, to be a start of a possible movement
mm,
for those with invisible diseases. It's very hard for us because
mm,
you can't look at us and tell that we're sick.
mm. Absolutely. And how have you kind of, what was your main way of sort of dealing with it? I mean, did you find other people, seek other people? I'd sense you have to have quite a strong mindset to go through this.
Well, because like since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a mom.
Mm,
And I was a young mom, graduated high school, but I had my son immediately afterwards.
hmm.
And that's all the more reason to fight. Him, the three kids I gave birth to, and the other kids I've collected along the way. I have a lot of kids, and they're all inspiration for me to keep fighting. And I talk to my best friend, I talk to my kids, and I'm a very musical person, so I listen to music. That's how I calm myself. That's how I get whatever is going on with me out. And I'm a very spiritual person. I pray a lot.
Mm, mm. So yeah, it sounds like your ways kind of being that communication with other people, like having conversations to kind of share how you're feeling, but then also like praying to kind of like share something like beyond you as well. So yeah,
Yes.
not keeping it to yourself. And I know when we keep things to ourselves, that can be quite even more damaging in my personal experience as well.
Yeah. And the sneak preview in chapter 4, I speak on that. when I did try to be strong and try to handle everything myself, and
Mm,
it spiraled out of control. I had something going on mentally where I was recently divorced out of a domestic violence relationship. I caught up with a high school sweetheart and we had recently broke up. And then there was a moment where the doctors have no explanation other than my stomach fell asleep. And it did for from November 18th to December 28th. And as you know, that can kill the average person. So I was saying that lupus was kind of trying to kill me and save me at the same time because I made it, but it caused a lot of damage. I now suffer from partial brain damage, where the right side of my brain is getting too much blood, and the left side, like, very minimal.
mm. Okay, so yeah, it caused a lot of kind of unseen things, like you said, that people can't always tell. So I really appreciate you obviously sharing your message in this book and creating awareness to people on that. How have people responded to the book so far that you've shared with?
Well, I'm happy to report that everyone that says they get the book, they say they can't put it down.
Wow,
And
cool.
it's not hard to get through. Um, I put large font. I chose large font and a double space where it makes it easier to read, where the words don't look like they get jumbled up or anything. I'm
Mm,
also working on having an audiobook put out as well. It's available on Kindle and available through Amazon. But yeah, that I just talked to um, one of my older daughters that I didn't birth, but she's mine. And this morning she's like, Mom, I know that you fight and I know some of the stuff you go through, but you shielded us from this. And now, I mean, you put it out there. So now I know, and it's and kind of made me sad. And I told her, don't be sad for me. I'm still here. I still kick and function as much as I can when I can. I time everything out. I go to all of my doctor's appointments. I take all and most or most medications unless I feel that it they need to do more research before giving it to me. And I don't keep a doctor that won't listen to me.
mm.
If they
Have,
say, it's not in the book, they haven't wrote the book on me yet. So
mm,
I live with this body, and you can't tell me you can tell me from a medical standpoint, but you can't tell me about this body that I've been with for 48 plus years.
mm. Knowing yourself, yeah, sounds like kind of strong self-awareness into your own body, even when you've got like doctors telling you certain things. Have there been doctors that have disagreed like with you?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Um, then and chapter 4 is when it really got really bad. I went there and I was telling them that something was wrong. They put the leads on my chest and saw that my heart rate was going from 80 beats per minute to 246 in a matter of seconds. And just because all of my blood work came back clear and I didn't have any health insurance, and that was in the 90s, I was kicked out of the hospital.
Hmm. Wow, that's dramatic. So, with your like diet and nutrition, is there a certain sort of like regime you've been like following for a while in terms of what you're eating and things like that that helps it?
Well, one thing that makes it hard is I'm very picky.
Hmm.
And then I have a large allergy list. So some stuff I can't eat due to me being picky, or I'll be allergic to it. And then they basically just want me to eat because it's more important to get the nutrients in to try to kind of pick which. And then I also take supplements to keep me going from that. And I drink vitamin waters only. Every now and again, I'll sneak a soda. I get in trouble from my kids, but something you got to sneak and be bad sometimes, but not too bad.
Hmm.
And it's okay as long as you get back on track.
Hmm. Soda's your treat, is it? That's your treat of choice.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't do it often, but when I do, I kind of sneak and do it. And then um, I've been a grandma, but I'm just a new grams. And that's the kids that are off my offspring, and there's one that lives here in the house with me, and that's my little inspiration. That's my best friend right now. Me and her
Yeah.
always get in trouble, and where her mom separates us.
I love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So you've yeah, obviously gone through a lot of like doctors, a lot of like different things over time, and you said people have really supported you reaching out. Is there anything you find, and it's never a one size fits all or all different, but I'm just curious, is there anything you found useful in terms of any mindful practice, any sort of like meditation, journaling, or those things for you at all?
Well, when I had the issue when the my stomach falling asleep,
Mm,
it backed up into my system and it got into my brain. And just for me being such a strong and together person that I was, it struck everyone as odd. So I was chose to seek help. I had a psychotherapist that I still see to this day.
mm,
Well, actually, I'm going to hook back up with her as soon as she's available. But I've been seeing her for over 20 years, and she's been a great help. There's no room for shame when it comes to something like this. If you need help, reach out.
mm,
I've had really
mm,
dark days where I would question me being here.
sure.
And then they'll write not even full minute later, be like, what are you talking about? Like, you got wonderful children and a wonderful life, stuff to fight for. And even if you don't have children, there is stuff to fight for.
Mm,
This is the life is a beautiful gift, and it should never be taken for granted.
mm. So it sounds like gratitude in what you're saying, like appreciation of the things you can look at in life, and yeah, appreciate you're looking at your family around you, but there's always things around there, and also thanks for being vulnerable on those dark days as well, that you've obviously experienced as well. But
Definitely.
sounds like reaching out to people and having those people around you has been a fundamental one as well for you.
Yeah. I mean, I've had betrayal in my life, of course, and it's always from someone that's the closest to you.
Mm,
But I just have to put that on the back burner. I can't focus on that. Because also with lupus, your mental health is very important. Just thinking about the wrong stuff for too long can manifest to the point where it causes a hospital run, and that's never good.
mm. Yeah, I think that's a really important point you made, in terms of like, yeah, mentally how you're thinking, because I know mental health's a big thing in general, but like I'm really fascinated to see like how you've been sort of like working through it. Um, so yeah, like for you, how do you deal with like when you get like the more challenging thoughts? Do you kind of sit with them to understand them, or do you just kind of like switch to the positive ones?
Well, what I've done is I've given myself a 2 hour grace, what I call it. And that's 2 hours to cry,
Mm,
pout, scream, yell, or whatever. But after the 2 hours, I even set a timer on my phone. After the 2 hours, it's time to come out of that. You
mm.
can't give it no more than 2 hours. And I started that maybe about 20 years ago. And because we're allowed to cry, you're allowed
Mm,
to be angry, you're allowed to feel what you're feeling. It was one point where I was getting a diagnosis almost every time I went to the doctors. And it's like disappointing. And I keep, why me? Why me? And then I pray. And when I pray, I don't do it traditionally. My head is not always bowed. My hands are not always put together or down on my knees. I talk to God like he's sitting right next to me, or we're sitting across from each other having lunch. And I'll ask him, like, why me? And then I'll tell him, thank you for not letting it be one of my kids, my
mm,
grandkids, my family members. And like, you gave it to me because you know I'm tough enough to take it. But what is this? What is the next step? And normally I'll get a call. So I always coin myself as one of God's favorites. There's the stuff that I've been through, like maybe 3 years ago, I had meningitis, not once,
mm.
but twice in the same month. And that was the most confusing time for me because I did not understand what was going on. Once again, I never heard of it and didn't know. And I talk about that. I can't remember what chapter, if it's 7 or 8, but I go into complete detail of my take on it. And it was very trying.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
like,
Adding that to the mix as well, meningitis. That's a lot.
yeah. But, for those that don't know what meningitis is infection of your spinal fluid. And of course, that can go anywhere. And of course, it got in my brain.
Hmm.
And at first, I thought my brain damage was progressing. But my daughter, my baby girl, I saw her standing outside of my room and she's on the phone saying, this is not her. And she called 911 and they said she sent me to the hospital just in time, both times. Because the second time it was meningitis and encephalitis where my brain was swelling. And those that I was calling, they could hardly understand me on the phone, but when I told them my diagnosis, they feared for my life. And luckily they didn't tell me, so I wouldn't panic. But once I was completely out of it, they let me know that, they know people that have died from meningitis. And I didn't have it once, but twice, and in the same month.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, powerful. So yeah, with the meningitis, I imagine really like mentally you would have had to do like a lot of work with people as well and kind of like talk and share a lot about that. Also appreciate what you said about the 2 hour grace period when you've had news like that and allowing yourself to feel emotions because I feel like sometimes emotions are pushed away and not felt. Um, but yeah, it sounds like you're getting a healthy expression of them, but not staying with them. Then thinking
Yeah.
like positive, having those conversations with God that you were talking about, and thanking God, and in that way,
Yes, definitely.
I love that. What's been the toughest thing for you, like living with an invisible disease?
The toughest part is when it's like a lupus flare,
Mm,
because again, my body is kind of different. When I feel horrible, my blood work's perfect. And when I'm feeling fine, my blood work is off. So until I get someone that understands that, if they're one of the doctors that goes by completely by the book instead of calling my primary to get my background specifically,
mm,
then I have a hard time. And I'm screaming in pain and
mm.
I understand there are addicts that kind of do the same behavior. I don't know because I don't affiliate with them. I've never been addicted to anything but some candies. But it's sometimes hard to get help. Like I said, it's time for an invisible disease movement, not just lupus, not just sickle cell or stuff like that. You look at us and we present absolutely fine, but the inside our bodies are screaming. And we need help. And no, we don't want sympathy. We just want understanding.
Mm. Just understanding and to be heard, right?
Yes, definitely.
Heard and understood. Got you.
It's just like I've come across bad doctors, or not bad doctors, I can't say they're bad, because they're just calling themselves doing their job, but doctors with limited understanding. I've come
Mm.
across some that look at my chart and say, my God, like you in here cracking jokes and making us all laugh. And I'm looking at your chart and I can't believe that you went through 1/3 of the stuff you were going through. Um, Being a native of San Francisco, I've been going to the same doctors, the same hospitals, and there have been some nurses who I've burned a memory in their brains, and they remember me. And they'll tell me like the story. There's one nurse, I want to say his name was Jesse, either Jesse or Jerry. And he's the one that said, you need to write a book because the stories you're telling are unbelievable if I didn't see your chart myself. And the song, Unwritten, Natasha, I can't remember, I don't want
Yeah,
to mess her last name up. That song
Bedingfield.
came
Yeah.
on immediately afterwards, and I felt like that was God speaking to me. And the minute I was discharged, I started writing out the outline of my book.
Oh wow, that's so funny you say that about the Natasha Bedingfield song. I actually that song came on like near me when I was thinking about writing a book as well. So it must be the sign song. So I'm glad you heard that song as well, and it gave you that
Yes,
calling.
and
That
definitely.
calling. How have you found like writing the book as the experience writing it?
Well, because what happened was I wrote out an outline, and each bullet I turned into a chapter and kind
Mm,
of, because I didn't put everything in there, but I put the most pressing and most influential stuff in there and kind of categorized everything in each chapter and made each chapter headline. I focused everything medically going on with me with that. Like there's one for when I had cervical cancer. And in that one, I talked about all of my abdominal and reproductive woes in there. And when I was writing it, there was certain chapters because in order to get it out and accurately, I had to kind of relive it. And I went to an emergency room 4 times. And on the fourth time, they thought I was having a stroke, and the neurologist came in and he's asking me like, "What's going on?" And I let him know I'm writing a book. And he said, "Do you know what you're doing to yourself?" And I said, I no. And he's like, "You're trying to relive a lifetime of pain in a matter of weeks, and you have to give yourself a break." So what I did was I came home and I gave myself a timeline. And in that timeline, would veer away from it if it became too much. It was okay to put the pencil and paper down, walk away, and go play with my granddaughter or go out or just talk on the phone with friends and change the subject. But it was trying, but it only took me 6 months to kind of write it out, and then a couple of more months to polish it off. And then I got help from my publishing team to get it out there.
got you. Okay, so not too much pressure on the timeline when you did it.
Yeah, I had to give myself a break because I really was kind of forcing myself, like, no, God said, write this book to get it out. And it's like, He also said, you don't have to hurt yourself to do it. So I slowed down and like I said, gave myself a schedule.
I've got it. And how did it feel like emotionally to like write the book?
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. I
Mm,
got so proud of myself. I know every project I start, I'm making a point to finish. So I knew I would, but once it was done, it's still surreal. Like you did it. And my daughter Angel was like, Mom, you did it. And Kiana comes in dancing, and then my daughter Sky jumps, runs in the house and comes in dancing. Woo, Mom! My daughter niece Heaven, she's the same way. They all kind of pumped me up. And then my son, my who introduced me to motherhood, my son Jovan, he's my world. He's the male version of me, I always call him. He's like, I don't know what you're so surprised for. Like, I knew you would do it. Like, when you say something, you always do it, Mom. So it's a very good feeling.
very good feeling. You got it out to the world now. Getting it out to the world. It's amazing. So for the individual who might be um, just like diagnosed with maybe an invisible disease, what guidance would you like offer them if they're at the beginning of their journey?
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked that. Um, the first thing to do is, of course, do your own research and then start to research your own body. Keep a journal of what makes whatever it is you're diagnosed with trigger. See what you ate that day, what you were doing that day, how you were feeling that day, and kind of catch your own notes. Because doctors, believe it or not, they only go by what they know, and it helps to inform them and keep them fully informed. Next is reach out to a loved one, a trusted loved one. Um, in this book, make it very easy to get in touch with me. A very giving person, very understanding person, very confidential person. There are several people that I don't want to use the word counsel because I don't have the credentials for it, but I talk to them and whatever they say is confidential, including their name. And I appreciate them for reaching out to me. And we go through it, and it's actually therapeutic for me as well.
Mm,
Because one, I love helping people, and to do
mm,
something that I love makes me in a good place, which in turn calms my lupus down. For two, I feel like I owe God a lot, and it would be helpful to take care of his children, his other children, those that deserve it. Because I have been used, I have been lied to and um, misled to doing stuff that they probably didn't deserve, but I don't regret it because whether it panned out the way I planned, they still got the experience to have someone genuinely on their side, someone genuinely that listened and cared. So I don't regret any of it. Um, Third is to try to find what makes you happy. That
mm,
helps, regardless to what it is. It can be something actual, visual. You can just lose a limb or anything. But if you're in a good space, you're going to handle it a lot better than someone that's handling it in a negative way or being dark. And I just had to follow my own advice recently
mm.
as the
I like
fight still continues.
mm, some great tips there. Just yeah, like reaching out to people, being very keeping a very like strong journal of like how you're getting on, like what's been going on in the days, and yeah, finding something that you love ultimately to kind of like move you forward as well.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
So I know the book will go a lot more into uh, about the invisible disease and a lot more into lupus and all these kind of things. Before we sort of like wrap up today, where can the listener find your book if they want to grab it? And is there a final point you want to share with us today?
Um, okay, the book is available on Amazon and anywhere actually that sells books. You can also go on Facebook, Books of Ebonie Robinson, and buy a book there, and that way you're buying it from me, and I can have it autographed to whomever, if it's for yourself or if it's for a loved one. Um, and if you Google the book, My Lupus Journey Journal on Amazon, it'll show you how to get the book. Um, sorry, excuse me. Final point. One thing I want to mention that doesn't have too much to do with the book is I picked today to do the podcast, August
Mm,
25th. It's the 65th birthday of Mr. Reginald Greenwood, the love of my life, who's he passed away of leukemia, another disease that's sort of invisible. Um, he's like my inspiration behind everything. Uh, and if you don't reach out to someone you care, because there's some people that I'm talking to that they say they can't talk to their family, they can't talk to their friends, and it's sometimes easier to talk to a stranger, no judgment. And I'm offering to be that one. Long as I'm in a healthy space, as I do have to take time for myself and to keep my health in check. And when people talk to me about what's going on with them, I physically feel it because I'm a very caring person. Um, but other than that, please buy the book. Like I said, My Lupus Journey Journal, written by Ebonie Robinson. That's IE, not Y. And I thank you, Johnny Pardo, for this time, this interview, these wonderful questions.
I appreciate you, Ebony. Thank you so much. And for the listener, for the viewer today, you can find all of Ebony's. You can find the book linked in the show notes below this episode as well to grab yourself a copy and Ebony's details as well, as she mentioned. So, Ebony, a massive thank you once again.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Appreciate it.
of course. So that concludes today's episode. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.